It is 1:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The King spoke today to Titans media at St. Thomas Sports Park. It was the first time we had heard from running back Derrick Henry since October 28th, 3 days before his foot injury in Indianapolis when the Titans defeated the Colts for the second time this season. Well, Henry was asked about whether or not he expects to play this season. He responded with a smile.
Do I expect to play? I'll see how this week goes, and we'll see where I'm at on Saturday.
Henry technically still remains within that 21-day window where he can be activated to the active roster from IR. He was placed or designated to return from practice and entered that window 14 days ago. 24th-ranked Tennessee left Nashville with a win over Vanderbilt on Tuesday, 68-60, the final in Memorial Gym. The Vols improved to 12-5 and win their ninth straight over the Commodores. 4 different Tennessee players in double figures. Santiago Vescovi, the leader, with 14 points. Scottie Pippen Jr. put up 18 as Vanderbilt falls to 10-7. The Preds scored first again but gave up 3 straight goals to fall 3-1 to the Canucks in Bridgestone Arena. That's 4 straight losses for Nashville after a 5-game winning streak. They sit third in the Central Division. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. Wednesday. It feels like this week is just crawling by to me.
Really?
Yes. I thought all day yesterday.
Reminding myself that today is Wednesday, right?
I thought all day yesterday was Wednesday.
Oh, you did?
Like, even till we did the show, and then I forgot that it was still Tuesday. And at one point, I asked my wife something about church, and she's like, I don't know, that's tomorrow. I said, no, it's Wednesday. She goes, it's Wednesday tomorrow. I have no idea what day it is. I know this. I'm just ready for this game to get played.
But you didn't say it's the nexus to the nexus in the middle of the universe.
Well, I'll save that later because it is the middle of the week here on the show.
Okay.
I'll save that later.
That's how I know that it is Wednesday.
See,
you hadn't said that, so you give me little cues there that tells me, it's kind of like when you give your dog cues.
I know.
He's like, hey, it's time for you to feed me, or
right.
It's time to let me out. Or
my dog goes and whacks her bowl with her hand when she wants food. If you don't have enough food, she whacks her bowl with her hand.
Oh, my dog comes and nudges me with his nose.
Well, mine's not that subtle.
Yeah,
he's kicking her bowl. Hey, Dad, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Ziggy.
Either that or, go outside.
I'm worried about my man because you said he had some dental issues. You said he had some issues with his chompers. My last dog had teeth issues. That's a sad thing when your buddy gets some teeth pulled.
Oh, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already had some teeth pulled probably, 6 months ago.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, dang, how's he going to be chewing up food? He said, oh, don't worry. They don't have no problem chewing up food. I was like thinking I was going to have to get like soft, dog food.
I think he needs doggy dentures.
Yeah, I don't
get him
know,
some
man.
fake teeth.
Yeah. She was even saying, well, we might need to start brushing his teeth. I said, huh? I said, oh, that's a good duty for my wife to do.
Okay.
He'll sit there nice and still for her. Yeah, unless you put some food on that toothbrush, it's gonna be
brush his teeth with
it's gonna
bacon.
Be some issue. Yeah, man. Those Labradoodles must have those issues. I'm not sure because he's had issues with his teeth back in the back. I'm like, dang, they're gonna take his back teeth. All of them gonna be out of. He's just gonna have middle to front teeth.
Well, he won't lose his beautiful smile then.
No.
He can still smile at you. Derrick Henry had a beautiful smile today. He spoke. I don't know if anybody was really expecting that. And then it was supposed to be coaches. And then I'm watching the stream like I normally am. I'm like, wait a second, Derrick Henry? And then sure enough, here comes that big rascal. It was interesting hearing him. I'll say this. At one point, he got asked, and I would say who asked it, but I can't remember, are you going to play on Saturday? And he's like, well, I don't know. I mean, you Lucas and Buck played it, but I was watching his face. It was like, well,
and I was listening, and I didn't see what you saw.
He's like, well, I don't know. We got to see how it goes. And I thought, all I could think of was this. It would be like if you interviewed a lion, and the lion was just sitting there like on the edge of the prairie.
So you had to see it.
You had to see his face. Yeah. And if you were like, hey, man, you about to eat that antelope over there on Saturday? And he's like, well, I don't know. I guess if I'm as fast as that antelope, yeah. But, I don't know. Still remains to be seen. The look on his face was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm about to eat that antelope and his family. I'm sorry, Peter, if you're listening, but this is like animals talking about eating animals. That's a circle of life. It's a Disney movies.
Oh, my. We're going to get in trouble.
All I'm saying is this. The look on his face. And I'll tell you what. We got this opening segment. Jordan Dejani is going to join us. In the final segment of this hour, we'll just play the whole thing. Everybody can hear it all for themselves. So we'll play the Derrick Henry presser from earlier today. It's about 8 minutes. 145.
Okay.
We'll play it in its entirety. It's about 8 minutes. You can hear the whole thing. But that dude just looked like somebody who knew a secret. Seriously.
And he just wasn't going to admit that that's what it was going to be.
And for anybody who wonders, I mean, if he were to have a setback, obviously that changes things. And I'm knock on wood. I'm just saying that. But when he speaks to the media on game week, after all this time, after no contact with anybody other than like the kids from the Boys and Girls Club telling him he was the Man of the Year nominee for the Titans. That's all we've seen of Derrick Henry. So him speaking to the media today says the Lion is about to go after the Antelopes out there. The Antelopes just happen to be Tigers this week. Bengal Tigers.
Oh, good one. Wow.
But that rascal looked like, and I'm telling you this, and you're like, well, I mean, they still got a block for him. You got me back to reality.
Yeah, they still got a block for him.
Still got a block for him.
It's a team sport.
It is a team sport. I saw your tweet earlier. You had a very nice tweet, and I felt like you were maybe talking to some national media members. This was from the Twitter of Blaine Bishop, the hitman, at @BBishop23. Some people need to understand that football is a team sport. That's why the best teams win, not always the best talent. #Tighten up.
Right. Now, if you have the best talent naturally and you buy into being a team, they most likely win most of the time. But, I was really kind of addressing just, not getting the attention that they deserve. And they have earned the right to get that and being the number one seed, regardless of what happens in the game or not. So I don't know what's not sexy about the Titans. Maybe it's just their style. Maybe it's because Tannehill is viewed upon maybe the worst quarterback left and no superstar guy. If Henry was here, maybe, was for sure playing, which we think he will. But, and hadn't missed so much time, maybe there would be a lot more talk and viewership about the Tennessee Titans. But guess what? It's like when you're in high school. If you're worried about what everybody else is saying, then they got you. All you need to do is worry about what's going on in your camp, and guess what? And that's putting a W in front of this game and every game on par. That eventually you'll get to where you want to, where they have no choice but to talk about you. So, I kind of look at it that way. You worried about what other people say, then you'll never make it very far. People are always going to have their opinions and say whatever they want to say, from grade school, middle school, high school, college, pro, adult, office space. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
How much of the disrespect stuff, I know, because guys are just worried about their assignments, taking care of their own business. How much of that stuff, because we know this, even if the Titans win on Saturday, we're all going to watch that other AFC game on Sunday, and it's going to be the storyline of this is for the Super Bowl. Whoever wins this is going to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, they're going to have the other team as the team that's going to win.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's the Bills or the Chiefs.
Sure.
If they're, playing the Titans, yeah.
How much does that disrespect finally seep into a locker room where guys will be like, dang, man, where that might become – I know guys are motivated to play well because they're competitors, all the things that we talk about. But at what point does being completely ignored by the national media when you're the number one seed, you're in the final 8 teams, at what point does some of that maybe seep into the locker room, that disrespect?
Well, I can't speak on this team because I'm not in their locker room, but I could, speak upon our teams. And I think you're always listening. And so, you're not really concerned with what they're saying, but you also understand their viewpoint and perspective is laying down the road of what everybody else is thinking. And so you have to go out there and prove it. And, as an athlete, that's all you want, to have that edge. It's just to show, we can go back to the Ravens time, when they were the number one defense. Well, we were number one, too, in a lot of the categories, but nobody was talking about that. And, and we could talk about how the game played out and we lost, but statistically, I think we still won based off of the yardage and everything else that was given up in that game. So what we said was, we're not going to be all about that yap, and that's that talking. We're going to all be about that action, boss. So it's all about the actions. People can say what they want to say, but when you go out there and you play football, in between the lines, it's a different deal. So all that yapping don't do nothing but get me riled up. So I'm going to make sure I shut you up. Yeah. So that's kind of really it, where it's at. I mean, at the end of the day, guys say, okay, backs against the wall. Let's go out here and show them why we deserve that kind of conversation and to be the number one seed. I think it seeps in. It's almost impossible, especially with the resources of social media today. Right. I mean, man, it's almost impossible. Because you're going to go back, hey, man, you see what they were saying, man? They ain't even saying nothing about it. Now, you're not talking to the media, but you're getting, hey, man, it makes you focus a little bit more on little details and things of that nature. We're going to show them, because that's all an athlete really needs anyway. You're always going to be at a point right now where you're in winning games and got to this point by, your work ethic and everything else. Oh, I'm going to go back and watch the game from last year. Even though there's two different teams, still may find something out I didn't know last year. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, so some guys may not watch it all, may watch it just as cut-ups instead of an entire game. Cut-ups are when you're watching certain segments of their offense or defense. Let's say we watch just third down. We just watch red zone. They are cut up that way so you can just watch those or what they do on first down, whether it's passing or running. So, I'm interested to see what the game plan is going to be for the Titans to go against Burrow because, man, I went back and watched the Raiders game for the second time, and they spread them out early in that game. And I feel like that's what they're going to do to the Titans because of what happened in the second half versus the Texans. And they kind of just dinked and dunked. And if they show patience, which I don't know if they will, early on, because this would be my game plan if I'm them. I'm going to be patient early on, dinking and dunking. We're going to be able to move the ball. And, the Titans are going to have to be really good in the red zone. Then you attack them maybe middle of the second and you start bombs away. I'm wondering what is going to be the game plan for the Titans now on defense. Because if you go with the front four and they're dinking and done, guys are going to start getting tired because they just start rushing. So then they're not going to, be able to get after. So you're going to have to – I really believe – I watched him in an interview, Burrow, with Boomer Esiason. This guy is sharp as a whip. I really believe you're going to have to show him something and then do something else. And I don't know if you maybe you change the game plan really quarterly, have a different game plan quarterly to go against this guy. He was talking about I forgot who they were playing, but the Browns. They spread them out. He says they're going one-on-one. I know the linebackers running with the running back. And so he says all I had to do was buy time so he would eventually get open. They're in the 20 and in. They were in the red zone. So you run and he ran all goes. And he kind of named the play without saying the play. And he says all I had to do was just buy some time because I knew where I was going because eventually the linebacker can't run with him. And I'm thinking, well, dang, he's going to run out of space. There's no someone. He was like, nope. I'm still hitting him. So I locked in on him. So he saw initially. So you got to show him initially something that you're actually not doing and then change it. And I'm not saying every play, but all you have to do it is enough where he starts doubting, and then your rush gets there. So do you show him too deep, and then all of a sudden you're rolling to some zone form of blitzing scheme or, man-to-man blitz scheme? I'm not saying you have to blitz him, but you have to do more than just four-man rush and do some disguising and deception. Right. Maybe something you haven't even shown yet. Yeah. Or a lot of it, or haven't shown it in a long time. I feel like this guy's going to go all the way back and watch every game this year and knows everything that the Titans are doing. He's that kind of guy. Here's what another thing. He said, we spread them out and nobody was open, but I checked to a draw. And he said, we didn't have that in all week. We didn't even plan to do it. But I saw that they had no linebacker in the field of play. They had nobody. It was nobody there. Right. He said, so I checked to a draw. Yeah, that's playing off ear like just common sense. Yeah. That's what he did. And then he scores. Zoom. I'm like, man, okay. Can't show him what you're going to do. Kind of got to approach him like he's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady-ish, but with legs. And when I say with legs, because he can run. He can actually maneuver in the pocket. Pretty good.
And that's got the Titans some. Rod Taylor got him running in the pocket. Zach Wilson got him running around.
And he got him last year. Granted, different team, but it shows his capability.
He got him. Lucas says he's got us. All right, we got to take a break. Jordan Dejani will join us on the other side. We'll talk all things NFL, what's going on with coaching hires, what's going on all over the league, what he's hearing about the Titans and Derrick Henry. We'll get into all that next on Blaine Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Jordan Dejani is going to join us here in just 1 second. We'll talk all things NFL with him. CBS Sports, our regular guest. Looks like we got him now. Jordan is on with us. Jordan, I got to ask you this. You're a young guy, but I've always seen this on your Twitter account. I don't think there's any evidence of it there now. I think we've even talked about this a little bit before, but what's the thing with you and Jim Croce, the singer-songwriter who's been no longer with us for such a long time? What got you down that road as a young man on an artist like that?
Wow. I really appreciate this platform to talk about Jim Croce. In my opinion, Jim Croce is the best musician, songwriter that ever lived. I was completely intrigued and fell in love with his life, what he had to do to get up to fame. And once he got that top part of fame, he tragically died, and that's where his music carried on. I love his music. I love his stories. I think he's a good storyteller through the art of song. I love his music. He's my favorite musician of all time.
Wow. See, there you go. I'm more of a Kiss guy. They're not really noted as great storytellers, but they wear cool makeup and blow stuff up. So there you go. You're getting to know Jordan a little bit better. Jordan Dejani, CBS Sports, who is our guest. So we heard from Derrick Henry today. After we finished this segment with you, we're going to play his entire press conference. It's funny. Immediately, every sports outlet started running that. If anybody wonders who the star of this team is, look at the coverage and how different it is the day Derrick Henry just comes out and speaks to the media for the first time in a long time.
I love it, man. You're absolutely right. There's no mistake that Derrick Henry is the face of the Tennessee Titans. He's the engine that makes this offense go. We all know about that. But, I love his quotes as well, talking about we'll see how we ramp up. And he's got that smile on his face. I think everybody understands and believes that he's going to be suiting up against the Cincinnati Bengals for the first time in over 2.5 months. And, everyone's excited to see him. And I think that's a big momentum builder for this Tennessee Titans team coming into this matchup. I mean, you're hosting a home playoff game. You had the first round bye. The city's jacked up. And all of a sudden you return a guy who's a legitimate MVP candidate last year and maybe even this year if he was able to stay healthy. That's amazing. That's huge energy that the Titans are going to have. I wonder if they're kind of ramping up for some big announcement when he's, activated to the active roster or whatnot. I kind of thought that maybe Derrick Henry would announce today since he spoke to the media that he was going to play. But we'll see. But everyone's excited.
Well, when he gets introduced over here on the Cumberland coastline on Saturday afternoon, there may be some seats that come undone, like the light fixtures may fall off the stadium. That may be the loudest it's been since a fellow named the Freak ran out of the tunnel for the first time in a long time after an injury a long, long time ago.
Absolutely, man. I can't wait for that moment. I'm going to be up there in the press box as well, so I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we are going to all be ready for it. Jordan Dejani, we're always ready for his visit. CBS Sports, our weekly guest on Wednesdays here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Jordan, I have to ask you about Joe Burrow and what you thought about the Bengals playing the Raiders and their win over them, and your observations really of how the Titans' plan of attack should be to beat them come Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent win. I don't think I could give it an A+ since the Raiders almost came back. I mean, it literally came down to the final play. But overall, you look at why this Cincinnati team won, and in my opinion, it was because of Joe Burrow and this offense. It wasn't his most efficient day, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, of course, ran wild in the secondary, 116 yards on 9 catches. The stat that really caught my eye watching this game was that the Bengals only punted 1 time in the first 3 quarters. And that's when, taking that and applying to this matchup on Saturday, I think it's really going to come down to a great effort from this Titans defense if they want to advance to the conference championship game. That's not, of course, just only holding on to these wide receivers in coverage. It's also, stopping Joe Mixon if the Bengals want to try to establish tempo that way. Joe Burrow is a very talented quarterback, and this offense is capable of explosive performances. So really, I'm looking at the Titans defense and what they can do to kind of smash this attack. And I think that's ultimately what happens, and I see Tennessee advancing to the next round.
Well, since the Bengals play the Raiders, let's ask you about the Raiders a little bit here. They got rid of their GM. Is the coach next, and who do you think is going to fill that shoe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure about the GM. That's obviously a search that just got started really this week. We started seeing some names come out. Bengal scout Trey Brown, I think, is one. Dave Ziegler from the Patriots. Ed Dodds is another guy, I believe, in that mix. Now, as for the head coach, I mean, that's where it kind of gets interesting. I know a lot of people want to talk about Harbaugh and if he's going to come back to the NFL. I'm kind of looking at the Raiders' position. Maybe if is that one that he's going to be interested in if they want to get involved in a bidding war against a team like the Chicago Bears or whatnot. That could be very interesting. And I bring that up because if I was coaching commodity, whatever, I look at the Las Vegas Raiders as one of the most intriguing jobs because of where they're located. The NFL in Vegas is still very young. I would love to be the face of that franchise, bring it back to glory in one of America's most entertaining cities. So, this coaching carousel is going to be very interesting. It's still a little early. We're starting to see interviews be done. We're starting to see some favorites rise to the top at some locations, but we do have some ways to go.
Well, I'm going to have to ask you. We're on with Jordan Dejani, NFL writer for CBS Sports, and that is, of the higher seeds left, who do you think has the highest chance of getting upset?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me pull up the schedule here. I mean, the Tennessee Titans, if you ask any national media, they're probably going to bring up the Titans. I feel like the Bengals could evolve starting today and tomorrow as to be a really sexy upset pick, much like the 49ers were in Wild Card Weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that upset did end up coming to fruition. I don't think it comes to fruition in Tennessee. But when you look at some of the other seeds, I got my eye on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. They had no problem against the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't really have to have an incredible performance to down that team. I think they finished the year 0-7 against playoff teams. So, they were the last spot in for good reason. But look at this Buccaneers team. Yes, they're going to return some running backs next week. Leonard Fournette likely, Ronald Jones maybe. But the wide receiving core, I want to see if some of these younger guys can step up without Antonio Brown there, without Chris Godwin there. We saw, Tom Brady not be on the same page with some of these younger guys against the Eagles. Now, of course, they were able to still get the win, but when it comes down to those pivotal situations where you absolutely need a first down and the defense in the LA Rams is keying on guys like Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski, you're going to need one or two of those guys to step up. So I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on upset alert here in the divisional round.
How shocked were you that the Rams just hammered Arizona and Kyler Murray and crew, man?
Yeah, so I got to say, I was happy because I had the Rams -4. I hit all my player props. We had the under, so we did really well there from a gambling perspective. But just in terms of the final score, yeah, that was pretty shocking. I expected the Rams to win, but not like that. Not where Kyler Murray threw for 137 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, some pretty bad ones as well. This Cardinals team floundered down the stretch. And, I brought up, I think last week, maybe on your show, was that the Cardinals had their worst defensive performance of the year in the regular season finale against the Seattle Seahawks. And what I've been writing on CBSSports.com is that's a huge red flag. If you see that, this team might be destined for an early exit, even though they look like the number one team in the NFL through some parts of the regular season. Sure enough, that's what came to fruition. They floundered down the stretch, and that's going to be something that we talk with Cliff Kingsbury about, moving forward, being able to remain consistent through all the rigors of the 17-game regular season. That's probably something he's focused on now that he's in the offseason.
One more, and that is you just talked about your gambling habits there on the side there about the Rams game here we're talking about. Give me, I'm a novice. I don't gamble. So kind of explain to me, when you see the Titans are favored by 3.5, just take us through your thought process, being that you're the great gambler that you are with your big, huge house there that Vegas bought for you.
I appreciate that. I'm more average, definitely not great. If I was great, then I'd be all my attention on that instead of sports analysis, right? No, but, I'll say this. Alan Bell, Sportsline, you guys know.
Yes.
He gave me a great stat about NFL playoff betting, and that's that I think it was coming into Wild Card Weekend, the last 30, I believe, NFL games, favorites won, or not favorites, but the team that won covered 26 out of 30 times. So that means if a favorite was winning the game, they were covering the number. And, of course, if an underdog wins, then obviously they're covering the number. So that was something really to keep in mind heading into last weekend. And sure enough, teams that won went 6-0 against the spread. So that's something I have in my mind heading into divisional round. But, the 3.5 number is very funky. That's not something you necessarily always want to go all in on. But at the same time, if that stat that Alan Bell brought up rings true, then that Titans team should be able to cover the number. Hopefully it's just not by a field goal.
Well, okay, back to the 3.5. Don't most teams get 3 points? So to me, this is like a pick'em game if it was on a neutral site. That's kind of how I'm thinking. Is that wrong?
Yeah, Yeah, that's usually the formula people have. It could be 2-3 points going to the favorites and in terms of home field advantage. So, yeah, I guess if you wanted to break it down that way, the Titans are favorites, but they're obviously not big favorites. If they were, this would be a 6-point spread or something like that, doubling what the formula would be for the home field advantage. So, 3.5, everyone would rather have it, of course, at 2.5 or 3. That gives you room for a push. That gives you room for a game-winning field goal. 3.5 is going to be able to give some of the sharps pause. And like I said, I feel like the Bengals might be a sexy upset for some of those big-time bettors. But at the same time, like I said, I believe the Titans are going to win. And using that formula, that stat that Alan Bell brought up, I have good reason to believe they can cover 3.5 as well.
Well, give me the final score with the Titans winning.
Yeah, I forgot what I wrote down for my picks. Actually, that'll be probably published tomorrow. But I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of like a 28-24, 27-23, somewhere around that 4-point win. That's probably what a lot of models are saying since that line is at 3.5. But, yeah, I'm going to be picking the Tennessee Titans to win and cover.
We're on with Jordan Dejani, NFL writer at CBS Sports.
Jordan, I want to ask you a question about the greatest team in the NFL, the most talented, the greatest team maybe in NFL history. That's this year's Indianapolis Colts.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I mean,
what?
they've got an MVP running back. If he doesn't win it, it's rigged. They've got 17 Pro Bowlers and 83 All-Pros. They're just in the greatest head coach in history, the greatest GM, certainly the finest owner in all of football. We had George Brimmer on, who's a beat writer for them, and he was essentially saying everyone has spoken, but no one, no GM, no owner, no coach, no one gave a vote of confidence to the quarterback. Is it conceivable they go out and try to find somebody to legitimately compete with Carson Wentz this offseason?
I do think that's possible, yes, because, we talk about it all the time in terms of the quarterback position being the most important in football. You have to have that situated if you want to take the rest of your talented roster to new heights in your franchise. And that's what the Colts, tried to do last year. They had to give up, multiple picks for Carson Wentz, another conditional that turned into a first. But, man, after watching that regular season finale that took place in front of all those clowns, literally, I had to say literally, not that all the fans are clowns. But, yeah, watching that performance in a do-or-die game, Vegas had that line at like 15.5, and I took it. I was like, you know what? I know they haven't won in Jacksonville for so long. Vegas is on to something. Carson Wentz is going to step up and try to prove once and for all that he's the franchise quarterback. No, he completely flopped. And, I think you put most of the blame on the loss on Carson Wentz and his inability, inaccuracy going downfield. It was gross to watch. So, yes, we already saw some of the quotes from, who was it, the GM and the owner talking about that Carson Wentz, they're not really going to comment on his future kind of moving forward. It does seem like they are going to go out and at least try to bring someone in who's going to be able to compete with Carson Wentz. It's going to be really interesting to see what route they go, though. Is that a low-price free agent? Is that the draft? That's kind of what I have my eye on right now.
All right, on the way out, does Mike McCarthy survive in Dallas?
That's a great question. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, he will. But I think it's something they really should be thinking about because you have two coordinators who are some of the hottest commodities on the spinning coaching carousel. Yep. And if you really are a believer in Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore, I like Kellen Moore, honestly, then you might consider making a move. With Mike McCarthy, man, the question is he going to be able to take the talent the Cowboys have and help them reach the Super Bowl, help them reach that next level of success? That's something that this front office is going to have to be asking themselves.
Yeah. Jordan, great stuff as always. People need to be following you anywhere they consume CBS Sports or at Jordan Dejani. We'll get them there, too. Go jam to some Jim Croce, and we'll hopefully be talking about another Titans win next week.
Appreciate you, Jordan.
You got it. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. All right. Today, Derrick Henry spoke. He spoke at the microphone, answered questions, went through a bunch of stuff. You're going to hear all of that, everything he said today next on Blaine and Mickey, 104.5.
The king has spoken.
Yes, he has.
Tannehill gives Henry on the right side. There he goes. 25-30, 35-40, 50-40, 30, 20, 10, 5, end zone. Ladies and gentlemen, 76 yards. Derrick Henry, touchdown, Titans. That's getting something going.
Blaine Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Yeah, if anybody asks you, so what's the big deal about Derrick Henry? It's the fact that he can casually carry the rock 76 yards, that he is literally a big play running back, not a receiver who catches bombs, just a dude who takes a handoff and goes 75, kind of on the regular.
Yeah, 75 yards.
Yards.
The great Mike Keith there on that. Yeah, I mean, he's the home run hitter. The ladies love the long ball. Well, he definitely has the speed, and not only the speed, but the size to run over you, around you, through you. You name it, he can do it. And he was going down the road of showing he can also do it through the air.
Yeah.
Man, what a dual threat type running back. And, man, it's going to be exciting times. I'm just hoping he's super sharp and he's right on top of his game. And when I say, whenever I'm talking about Russ, I'm really talking about him just used to getting back out there and getting hit, ball security, high and tight, all the little bitty things, that makes him special. He never is going to forget how to run the football. That's going to come back easy. And then the psychology of that I am fully healthy, and once he gets tested on his foot in some form or fashion, whether it's planting real hard or getting tackled on his ankle and they're on his foot, and then now all of a sudden now he has the confidence that I'm back and that it won't get any worse. It'll stay the same, and I'm fully healthy. There's a process here. So I don't know what the fans are expecting, but I think it's a play by ear by the coaching staff. We're going to have John Glennon on. I'm going to ask him that because I'm interested to see how do you play this. You start him and let him stay out there and see how well he is, whether he's running or pass protecting or going out for routes, and wait till he taps out to tell you he's tired. All bets are off. You got to win or, to stay in.
Yeah.
So how do you go about this process, being a running back, and let him kind of dictate to you as the coaching staff that, hey, I need to come out here or there, or do you just roll with him? Or do you have a rotation with Foreman? And I just don't know if that kind of works with Derrick Henry and his style.
Well, for the first time in a long time today, we heard from the Titans running back. This is all the Derrick Henry news conference from earlier today in its entirety. The King has returned to the podium.
I'm just happy to be back playing football.
How did it feel after getting that extra contact in practice yesterday?
Say it again?
The extra contact that you got in practice yesterday, how did you respond to that? How do you feel after that?
Oh, yeah, I felt great. Just want to get some pads on. Haven't had them on in a while and get some contact going in. I appreciate those guys coming over to help me do that, and, definitely felt good.
What was maybe the toughest part of, this whole rehab return to play process, and maybe what helped you get through that?
No, I love football. It's all I've done since I was 5 years old, and, it's what I fell in love with. And, it's just the first time something like this has happened. And, just adversity, and you just got to overcome it. And thankful for the trainers, my girlfriend who was driving me here 5 weeks straight when I couldn't drive. And, everybody that, supported me. Titans fans wrote get well letters. I definitely appreciate that. And, just having faith in the man above, and, just continue to rehab, continue to get healthy, and, being able to have this opportunity right here.
Pretty much indestructible, Derrick, for the first several years. The fact that this injury has something to do with wear and tear a little bit too, is that cause for concern looking forward in terms of the the amount of carries and so forth, and the load that you can deal with going forward?
No, I don't think you worry about that. It's football. It's a game of injuries. Injuries happen. And, you just got to keep pushing forward. And everything happens for a reason. I don't try to get into all the what-ifs and this and that and this. Just focus on the right now and appreciate the journey. And that's all I can do.
Like you can pick between your feet right now in terms of cutting right, cutting left, planting, how close are you to the same on each side?
I feel good. I have a big steel plate on my foot. That's only different from the left foot to the right. But I feel good. Just I haven't did anything like 2.5 months. So, just getting back out there, getting acclimated to everything, and, getting back to being me.
You think you can kind of pick up where you left off? I mean, you haven't played the preseason a lot, so I know people talk about rust. Do you feel like you can kind of step back in and be the Derrick you were at the start of the season?
Well, I mean, it all starts out here in the practice field, and doing everything I can to be ready for Saturday, and that's where it starts. Just trying to work hard, trying to do the best I can to be the best player I can be for this team, and try to contribute as best as I can. But the work starts out here like it always does.
How impressed have you been with the job that they've been able to do without you, Derrick, to get to this point, to get the #1 seed?
Oh, I was definitely the biggest cheerleader. It was fun watching them, while I missed playing with them, but did a great job. Guys stepped in, guys who were hungry did a great job running the ball, and overall as a team they did a great job as well. And for us to have #1 seed, get a bye week, and then come into the division round against a good opponent.
What about from a mental standpoint? Where are you there? Because I know that's a big part of that recovery process from the injury.
Back playing football, that's all it is.
You feel like you'd be ready for a heavy workload on Saturday?
We ain't gonna get into all that, but whatever I can do to help, I'm always for it.
Take a Bengals on defense, and what kind of challenge do they present? They've been good against the run this year.
Yeah, they did a great job this whole year, and watching them against the Raiders, I felt like they did a great job. I know they got a couple guys that went down, but overall, they're physical, penetrators, linebackers. They play very well, experience in the back end. They do a great job blitzing, fast, try to get the ball out, and got a great experience. A lot of guys who played together for a couple of years, so we got our hands full and got to prepare for them this week.
Do you think there's something taking the first hit on it in a game?
All these questions. I mean, I'm not really focused on that. I'm just ready to go out there and play. If you sit there and focus on all that, then you're not going to be yourself.
Advantage, Derrick, to maybe having fresh legs, not having played, not having had wear and tear for the last 3 months? Is there a benefit to that going up against, maybe guys who've been playing week after week?
I would think anybody who hasn't played in 2 months will, feel pretty good about their body and where they're at. So,
Derrick, you mentioned the adversity you've been going through this last several months. How difficult was that mentally for you? I know you said it was fun watching the Titans play and do so well, but also how difficult was that watching your team and being away from your organization?
It's always hard when you go down with an injury and the season's still going on and you love football, you want to play, but just got to work through it. It's always gonna be tough times, when something like that happens. But what don't break you makes you. So that's the mindset I had, is just continue to rehab, get better, and do the best I can to get back on the field.
You also mentioned your support system, how grateful you were to them and for everyone that kind of supported you through these last couple of months. How often did your teammates reach out to you, and how much did you feel that support from your team?
Oh yeah, they reach out to me every day. Whoever it was that texted me before each game and just checking up on me, I definitely appreciated that. And my teammates are like family, so I definitely appreciated it and was rooting for them while I was trying to get back.
Did you get a lot of letters? You mentioned letters from fans. Did you get a lot of support mail, and did you read a lot of it?
Yeah, I got a pretty good bit of them, and I definitely appreciate it for them taking the time out to send love and send get well wishes. Got some of the best fans in the league, and definitely, it was heartfelt messages, and I definitely appreciate it.
What was it like there? Back when it first happened, like you said, you've really had no injuries. How kind of shocking was it not only to learn you'd been hurt, but that you might be out for such an extended period of time?
Yeah, it was definitely shocking. Like I said, this has never happened to me my whole career, so it was just, I was like, well, can't do nothing about it now. Try to get surgery and start the recovery process. Try to get back as quick as I can.
So you do expect to play on Saturday?
Do I expect to play? See how this week goes, and we'll see where I'm at on Saturday.
How about the opportunity that this team has, being the #1 seed, with an opportunity to do something that's never been done around here? How much are you guys looking to hopefully take advantage of that opportunity?
We definitely know it starts out here, and continue to get better on all three phases, compete, and then get ready for Saturday. But we have a big opportunity in front of us, and we want to make sure we stay focused every day in the meetings, in the practice field, and then let it lead to Saturday.
That last one, last year when you had a home game chance, how much did that sit with you at the end of that promising season?
Yeah, not really try to focus on too much of last year. That's in the past, but we came up short last year, and definitely want to do the right things this year so that doesn't happen.
Derrick Henry, first time, long time, Blaine, since we've heard from that guy. The difference in now and whatever, he's like, well, I mean, I do have a big metal plate in my foot.
He was being honest. That's the difference.
I mean, there's a giant metal plate in my foot.
That don't mean I can't carry it,
Right.
I can carry it in my foot.
Sure,
with
sure.
everything else or any people that want to go along for the ride.
Right. I mean, the only difference is just the giant metal plate in my foot. Y'all are just different, man. Football players. Yeah, I mean, I've got a metal plate in my foot, Like you, the doctor tapping you on the shoulder going, hey, man, your arm's broken. No, man. Yeah, your arm's broken, Blaine. No, just got a knot. It's because it's broken. Yeah, it's broken, Blaine. No, I'm fine. Y'all wired different. Y'all and hockey players, all kinds of different. Yeah, different.
It was always interesting. I keep hearing this analogy, I guess, and it makes sense, but I don't agree with it. That you never play preseason, so you should be fine. Guess what? In preseason, he's practicing every day, preparing to play football. When you injured, you are not practicing to play football. You are actually injured, and you're doing all rehab things. And until these last 2 weeks, has he actually been practicing?
Yeah.
And then, as he referenced, with pads.
Yeah.
So that it is different. So granted, as much as he hadn't been playing, he was preparing for football the whole time. In this instance, he was preparing to rehab.
Yeah.
So that's not to say he won't be the same guy, but that's not the same analogy there. As it's not the same. You're practicing every day. You're getting stronger. Whatever they had him doing instead of actually going through getting tackled in practice or thudded up or whatever it may have been. So it's a little bit different. When you come back from the injury, only thing you can compare it to is coming back from another injury. That's it. And it doesn't even have to be the same injury. It's just an injury. The process is horrible. You feel like you're not part of the team, regardless of how much they come in there, the players, coaches, and everything else. You're just kind of separated. It's not a good feel. You feel like you just. And someone kind of asked the question, but how did you feel? I would want to know, Henry, is when the team was having so much success, and I think they asked it, but I would have been a little more direct, and they were still winning without you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that means that show can go on. So guess what that put in his brain? The show can go on without the king. May not be as good, but it can keep it moving. That train don't stop.
No, he's ready to get back on that train.
So that might be firing him up too.
He seems.
I'm different than them. Let me show you why. Woo. King. And guess what? Titans Tongue, I think, said it. And we got Kong on the other side of the ball. Simmons is Kong, and we got King on the offense. So King Kong will show up on Saturday. I like it.
On the zone. Hey, JR, Corey, hold. I know, Corey, you've been holding. When we start the first segment, we'll jump right on. We'll take some phone calls. Anybody else wants to jump in? Mark Spain, Real Estate Hotline, wide open, 615-737-1045.
It is 2:03. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. Earlier today at St. Thomas Sports Park, we heard from the King. Derrick Henry met with media for the first time since before his injury in Indianapolis in late October. Here's what Derrick Henry had to say when asked about possibly being worried about getting enough carries, too many carries, etc. this Saturday against the Bengals.
No, I don't think you worry about that. I mean, it's football. It's a game of injuries. Injuries happen. And, you just got to keep pushing forward. And everything happened for a reason. I don't try to get into all the what-ifs and this and that and this. Just focus on the right now and appreciate the journey. And that's all I can do.
Henry is on day 14 of the 21-day window when he was designated to return to practice and remaining on IR. He can be activated to the active roster by Friday at the latest. The Titans, of course, kick off against the Bengals in the divisional round Saturday at 3:30 in Nissan Stadium. 24th-ranked Tennessee left Nashville with a win over Vanderbilt on Tuesday, 68-60 in Memorial Gym. The Vols improved to 12-5 and win their 9th straight over the Commodores. 4 different Tennessee players scored in double figures. Santiago Vescovi led with 14 points. Scottie Pippen Jr. led all scorers with 18 as Vanderbilt falls to 10-7. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Titans practicing today. Derrick Henry spoke to the media. Just heard a little bit of that in Lucas Panzica's update. The injury report yesterday for the Titans, the shortest one that I've seen all year. It had 3 names on it. Tierra Tart was limited, and it also had Naquan Jones, knee, Buster Screen, hammy, but both were listed as a full go. Now, Buster Screen.
King's not on there because he's not activated.
That's right.
He's really supposed to be part of that process.
So he is in the return-to-play protocol. So is Torrey Carter. Both of those guys in that protocol. So they don't show up on the injury report until they make them active. And then if they had some kind of issue, they would show up. So technically the Titans, well, they've got until Friday. Again, Lucas Panzica's update. They have until Friday to make those moves if those guys are going to play on Saturday. But Derrick Henry, sure. We played the audio. You're going to hear it all up and down the dial today on The Zone, on all the shows. And everywhere you go, it's been all over ESPN, everywhere. You need to see his face. This man looks like he is ready. His face looks like somebody who is ready to take the ball on Saturday and run the football. He looks like a gentleman.
Well, I don't know what his face looks like. No, I'm just kidding. When he looks like he wants to run the football. But what I can say is that he was kind of smug when they asked him if he's going to dress. He was just like, well, we shall see.
I don't know.
So that was a kind of a confidence kind of face like, yeah, I'm ready to go without saying it. Because, he just wants to make sure there's no hurdles still that he hasn't addressed with a couple more practices this week. So. Yeah. So I would say I'm pretty confident, but, never say never.
John Glennon is at practice today. He's been out there. He was there for Derrick Henry's press conference. We'll talk to him a whole bunch in, 15 minutes or so. But we got people on the phone at your show, too. We want to hear from you. Corey in Hendersonville has been on hold. So let's take some phone calls. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, as it is hump day, midway through the midday of the week show. It's the nexus of the sports talk universe. Welcome in, Corey.
Hey, guys. I hope you're doing all right on this rainy Wednesday.
Yes,
I've just got one question for Blaine, and then I've got a statement I want to make about the Titans and the disrespect for them in the playoffs. Blaine, as a player, I know you played the year that they went to the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty sure you guys had a first-round bye that year, correct?
The year we went to the Super Bowl, no, but the second year, 2000, we did.
The 2000 year, okay. I was curious how players treated the bye week. Like, did they, still watch the teams that were in the playoffs for that first round, or were they spending more time with their family and actually taking that time to rest? And then my statement that I want to make real quick, and then I'll jump off. I feel like even though we're the number 1 seed, the discussion is going to be after we beat Cincinnati, because I'm very confident we're going to do that whoever we end up playing, whether it's Buffalo or Kansas City, that if we beat them, the narrative is going to be that they blew that game and that Tennessee, just happened to be the recipient of, some lady luck. And same thing with, whoever we might play in the Super Bowl. I feel like if we do end up winning the Super Bowl, it's going to be the same discussion. It's not going to be about the Titans and how, they overcame adversity or anything like that. It's going to be about, Brady blowing it or Rodgers blowing it or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, I probably would agree with that unless the king goes off, and then all of a sudden they can't deny the king. He's the linchpin to superstardom. They bring all the eyeballs, as we just saw on TV just by him doing a press conference. So, yeah, but I would definitely agree with him, though. That's how it's going to go. As far as practicing during Super Bowl, it's somewhat similar, same as what they did with Vrabel the week, the year we had the bye week is the year we lost to the Ravens. So we had 3 days of practice, then we had a couple of days off, then you had to come back, and then you had a day off, try to make it a regular week. You're really actually trying to stay in peak shape, and you're working on, fundamentals, if you want to give it that, and kind of going through different scripts. And I'm talking about scripts about each team maybe on first and second down that you possibly could play. The coaches are all doing that, so we're just kind of seeing how some of our defenses look, or offense looks against their defense during that week. But, yeah, you're having a little more time because you're not actually diving in deep on any team. You're definitely watching them in the playoff on TV just to, get a leg up a little bit. But, yeah, you're spending time with your family and everything else. You're just home sooner, and you also have a couple more days off. So, yeah. But I always looked at those days as, trying to get a step ahead and maybe get another deep tissue massage or, stay off my legs, maybe get in the cold tub, maybe some extra times. I was always thinking, no matter what, even days off, how can I be better than my opponent because he's not doing anything but sitting on the couch?
Right.
So that's kind of what I was always thinking.
Blaine had all the couches removed from his house on a week like that. Then had them brought back the next week.
I was definitely sitting on my couch.
Let's get JR up next. JR with a question for the Hitman. What's going on, JR?
Hey, man, thanks for taking my call.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for making your call.
Thank you.
For taking it.
Yes, and we're
I
saying thanks for
appreciate you
making
guys.
it. Yes.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Blaine, you're the only one of all of the sportscasters on 104.5 that I feel could answer this question intelligently. In my opinion, it seems like we've always had to answer, why is our defensive backfield needing so much help? I mean, it has been all the way back to after you played. You were probably the exception, and Griffin was an exception. You guys were hungry out there, and you looked for somebody to put on their butts. But it just drives me crazy. We have the king. We have these superstar quarterbacks that we've had, but it just drives me crazy to understand why we cannot have the quality of cornerbacks and safeties as I regard you. Is it the talent we don't have? Is it the coaching we don't have? Or is it between the ears of these defensive guys? I mean, we had concerns about the line, and we fixed that on both sides of the ball, I feel like. We had the concern of quarterback. We fixed that with Tannehill. We fixed it with our beloved guy that's gone to the Lord above. But it just seems like we never fix our backfield. Why do you think that is?
JR, thanks for the call. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of an interesting question because in my era, it was a little bit different. They throw the ball way more than they did during my time. So let's start there. And I think having just good cornerbacks because the way the rules have changed, there's no, for me, I have to change my game. There's no head hunting out there. So guys are, cautious on getting fined and going to take guys out and those things. And then you got the salary cap. So you're working around the cap and where you want to put your money. So what you say is, as an organization, I think a lot of teams are like this, and this is what the Titans, I think, have done, is said, we're going to live through the draft through our secondary because it doesn't matter who we pick up. Having a stud one cornerback is not really going to be beneficial really enough in this league with the way the rules are. Even think about any team that has an elite secondary. You go, all right, who's the number one corner? What you start saying is like these are the top 5 corners in the league.
Right.
But nobody is shutting anybody down.
Right.
Like there is no Deion, Rod Woodson type players anymore. To me, you're doing a solid job if you hold somebody that's an elite receiver. Like if you heard Jamar Chase to 75 yards, that's a pretty good day. Just thinking, especially if you're playing man to man.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a different perception of how we have to view it, and you kind of build your team around your front four, which is what the Titans did, and let them get after the quarterback because they throw the ball a lot more now and hope for the best. And then you have more guys in the secondary to kind of manage them and keep them in front of you and make them take field goals instead of touchdowns. So I think this secondary is actually, a solid secondary. It's not elite, and it's not, you got some elite player in Byard. I think he could play during any era. But the other guys are all really good players and have good, unique roles. And I think you got an up-and-coming Fulton who is showing that he's getting better with the more playing time as long as he stays available. We just see what's going to happen with the first round of Farley. And Moden and Hooker, these are solid players. Quick Shank, they got some guys that are pretty solid, even in backup roles that they found through this COVID situation. So I don't think you can go on anybody's roster and think that anybody's shutting anybody down. Like, having a 9-6 game, the weather has to be really bad. Yeah. And that's probably the only way. Most of the teams now all have really potent offenses and really good defenses. Bend don't break at worst case scenario, kind of like the Titans.
It's what the league wants. They want points.
Because they want points, and that's what keeps butts in the stands.
Sure does.
Makes it exciting.
TV viewers.
The old adage is offense put up points, put seats in the fans, but defense wins championships. And I think now you could say the defense helps you win the championship because you got a defense that doesn't give up easy points, and that means big plays. They have to earn it now. So I just think it's a different time.
John Glennon, good answer by the Hitman there. There you go. You want answers. The Hitman's got them. Hashtag Ask the Hitman. When we come back, we'll ask John Glennon a bunch of questions because he's been at Titans practice. What's the latest on Derrick Henry? What's the latest on everything with the Tennessee Titans? We'll get that next with John Glennon. Take phone calls some more in the last segment of the show because we know you guys want to talk to us. We'll be right back. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. John Glennon set to join us here in just a second. Lucas Panzica is going to get him on the phone. Let's take a quick phone call from Jedi in the meantime, in between time on the Marks Main Real Estate Hotline. Jedi, what's going on?
How you guys doing on a rainy day?
Fantastic. Dry?
Yeah, exactly.
Dry. Hey, let me ask you something. Do either one of you guys remember Bradley McDougal?
Why do I remember that name? Help us out.
McDougal.
Yes.
He was the starting safety for the Tennessee Titans in the opening game against the Arizona Cardinals.
This year?
This year.
Yeah, Lucas was saying that. He started the first game.
Yeah.
At safety?
And Arizona went after him. And
that was the kid we
day,
picked up from the Jets, or he was a waiver wire veteran guy?
I think so. And they went after him all day, and then by Tuesday, he was no longer on the Titans.
Oh, no, he played with Arizona. That's what it was.
No,
they knew him.
It was the Seahawks.
The
He
Seahawks.
played for the Seahawks, and he started the Seattle game because Amani Hooker was injured in the
so
season
that wasn't
opener.
the first game.
Right, it was the second game.
Second game.
Yeah.
Okay, now, okay.
Same thing, but it was the Seahawks.
Yes.
Right, it was. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm leading to is, and Blaine, you probably got some insight on this. I noticed when Molden went out against Houston, the first person they went after was Jackson. As soon as Molden went out and Jackson came in, they went after Jackson. So,
he sniped himself.
Yep.
I don't know where he was going. We've got John Glennon on with us now.
Glennon sniped him.
John, did you snipe that guy?
I'd have enough of him.
I don't know where he was going.
He
He
did
did
priorities in there, right?
He did bring up Bradley McDougal, and we were all like, Bradley McDougal. But yes, for a
Well,
second
he said he
there,
started the first game, and that
did.
really threw me out.
That was about 70 names ago.
Yes.
Yeah, but I do remember he was with the
It
Seahawks.
wasn't a long tenure for Bradley. We enjoyed him while he was here, but it didn't last long at all.
Well, let's start with that, though. That leads to the Seahawks in Arizona play all the time, and so maybe they had a little more insight into him when the Titans played the Seahawks. Do you think that gives Jamar Chase an advantage or disadvantage that he's known this guy Chase since high school and played with him in college, or just kind of a moot point at this stage?
Maybe so, but I guess you have to look at it both ways too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Christian Fulton knows a thing or two about Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
As well, since they've known each other for so long and played against each other and practiced against one another. So it could go either way, but certainly we know that this is going to be a significant test for the Titans secondary. That we know that they're much improved over the group that got a little bit toasted last year against Cincinnati, but this will be a good test certainly of just how much better they are when you got this crop of receivers that they're going to face in the Bengals.
Yeah, John Glennon, our guest at Glennon Sports, SportsIllustrated.com, covering the Tennessee Titans. So I did not know Derrick Henry was going to speak today, but then I just kind of noticed, wait, that's Derrick Henry on the stream here? What? But a surprise appearance from the King. He would not confirm that he would play on Saturday, but we've talked a lot about this today, John. The look on his face certainly looked like a man who is ready to take and absorb and also give some contact on Saturday while carrying a football for these Titans.
Yeah, I don't think the King was going to roll on out to the podium today if he was just going to sit on the sidelines on Saturday. I think the King is ready for some business. This is really his part of his third week of practice. So I think he's fully ready. It's interesting. It was interesting to hear him say, he's still got that steel plate, of course, in his foot, which kind of throws you for a minute. But, in watching him practice, over the past couple of weeks, I think he's certainly ramped it up. And, we just saw him again today, continues to look good, continues to get stronger. So I don't think, I think the Titans have until Friday afternoon, I believe at 3, in order to activate him. So they may take their time, and you want to make sure that you don't cut anybody first, and then maybe there's an injury, and all of a sudden you're kind of down a man. But I feel pretty about 99.99% certain that activation is going to take place.
I think this is the $1 million question though: is over under on carries for Derrick Henry. And I know there'll be a lot of factors that go into it, but I just wonder what in the world, when that game is over, what his carry count will look like.
Yeah, that I would agree with you. That is the million-dollar question because, on the one hand, you're looking at Derrick Henry, who, as we have watched him over the years, we know that Derrick Henry gets stronger and stronger in games, as the carries start to pile up, as it goes from, 15 to 20, from 20 to 25, and even beyond sometimes. That's when he really starts wearing on the defenses. That's when he starts feeling the rhythm himself. But can you really run a guy who hasn't been in a game for 3 months like that? And if you don't, which, it's probably wise, I would think, not to give the man that many carries. If you don't, do you get the full impact of a Derrick Henry? Do you get the guy who, punishes defenses towards the end of the game or not? So, I think it's going to be an interesting situation. I can't imagine, maybe they fool me and they go for, 15 or more, but I would be surprised. My guess, if I had to go over under, would be, maybe in the 14 range would be my guess. And like Todd Downing said today, he's kind of looking forward to that, the three-headed monster here. We've seen Foreman and Hilliard, run pretty well in Derrick Henry's absence. So, if you get a little bit of all three, I still think the Titans are in pretty good shape in the running game.
There you go. Vegas Glennon providing the over-under at Glennon Sports on Twitter for all your favorite gambling tips from John Glennon.
Well, let's stay on that. The 3.5 point there, Glennon. I mean, does that make you look? I mean, I know you're not a fan, but, man, you're like, whoa, this is a closer game than I expected from Vegas, or you thought that's about where they should be?
I kind of figured it would be right around there, maybe another point or so for the Titans, I kind of thought. But, I don't think it's news to any of us or any of the Titans fans that, there's a lot of people out there that still have question marks about the Titans. And they're a tough team, to sort of analyze because they have been missing players here and there so often during the year. So, you don't know, okay, well, are we going to see the full impact Titans, if you will, a fully healthy team that the way it was, during that 6-game winning stretch, or is it more like we saw, towards the end of the season where they scrapped and battled and won some games, against some lesser competition. It's hard to say, but I think in the bettor's eyes, and of course we know the lines makers make these lines with, the bettors in mind. I think the national perspective is still, wait a minute, are the Titans really all they're cracked up to be as a number one seed? I'm not necessarily buying it because I haven't seen Derrick Henry in 3 months, and I'm just not sure that the Titans are all that compared to some of these other teams.
Well, speaking of national media, we're on with John Glennon, SportsIllustrated.com. That is not a lot of talk about the Titans being the number one seed and really just not getting some notoriety with Derrick Henry doing an interview today. Do you think it is just because, I guess, nationally media doesn't really just buy in all the way to Tannehill?
I think there is something to that, yes, because I think the popular perception is that Ryan Tannehill is built solely around Derrick Henry, that if there's no Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is markedly worse. And, I don't think that's necessarily been the case. I think, we've seen Ryan Tannehill struggle at times this year, but I think really it was more because of the personnel in the receiving department being out. AJ has missed games, and obviously Julio Jones has missed games as well. I don't think it's necessarily because of the lack of Derrick Henry. The biggest difference to me, I think, is in the play action game. There's one school of thought that says no matter what running back is in there, play action is going to work because it holds defenders for a minute. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think you need to keep more people closer to the line when Derrick Henry's in there. I think more defenders hesitate just that one split second more on play action with Derrick Henry, and I think that greatly helps Ryan Tannehill in his play action game. But I think Ryan Tannehill has proved his worth, even without Derrick Henry.
Well, we naturally know that the Titans are going to run the football, but man, no one's talking about what is Shane Bowen's defensive strategy going to be to contain all these weapons and Burrow at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of a pick your poison situation for the Bengals, because, I mean, you're looking at two 1,000-yard receivers in Chase and T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd is over 800 yards. They got a great tight end, C.J. Uzuma. And then running back, Joe Mixon is strong both as a runner and as a pass catcher too. The list just goes on and on for the Bengals. And I think the biggest concern, or one of the biggest concerns, is the deep game of the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think, the Titans have probably not run into a team this year. I don't know if there are teams in the league this year that throw as well and as often deep as the Bengals do. And so that's going to be a real test for this secondary, and not only for the secondary, but for the pass rush as well. We all know that Cincinnati has not been tremendous in protecting Joe Burrow. So if those guys up front can protect that secondary a little bit, that certainly wouldn't hurt either.
We're on with John Glennon with SI.com.
John, I seen a tweet from our old boss, Brad Willis, runs the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, as this previous wild card week started, about when the Titans would host this next game. This is only the 6th home playoff game for the Titans as the Titans. That surprised me. And then you've got to go back to January of 2003, the last time the Titans won a home playoff game. I was surprised by both of those things.
I would agree with you. For the most part. Now, you and I and Blaine, we all know that there were some dark years of wandering in the desert for the Titans. Between kind of Blaine's era and sort of this modern era too. There wasn't much success to be found, but I think the Titans are excited to have another home playoff game. You start to feel like, as the players have said, this is more the standard now. We win the division. We get home games as they did last year. Of course, they didn't take advantage of it last year. Losing to Baltimore. But I certainly think Titans are excited about what that home crowd is going to bring. And again, anything you can do to kind of disrupt that high-octane Cincinnati offense. If you disrupt that communication, if you cause a couple of penalties, false starts here and there, I think the Titans are really, really hoping for that. And I just get a sense, I'm not exactly sure about it, but I just get a sense that there's even more a level of excitement this year than last from the Titans fan base. I think last year when the Titans were headed to the playoffs, there was just kind of that big nagging question, at least in my mind, was how was that defense really going to hold up? How were you really going to win games with this defense? And to their credit, the defense actually held up pretty decently in that playoff game. But at the same time, I think it's a more balanced team going into the playoffs this year, and I sense kind of a greater buzz and kind of greater level of excitement.
Always a great level of excitement when we're joined by John Glennon of Sports Illustrated here on Blaine and Mickey.
Great segue. I love your segue.
Thank you. Words are my business, JG.
Hey, Joe Burrow has been sacked, and he's mobile, by the way. But he's leading the league, I think, for the most.
Sacked the most, 51, and didn't
so
play all the
that's kind of
game.
interesting, to think about. Man, should you approach this in our front four getting after him, or are you going to blitz him? What would you think is the best way, knowing that matchup favors the Titans in this game and is glaring their front four versus their offensive line of the Bengals, that we should be able to get after him even with just our front four?
Yeah, that to me is the key, is that when that front four has been healthy, normally they've been able to get good pressure on quarterbacks without the need of the blitz too much. Now, occasionally we'll see, an Elijah Molden will step in there, or occasionally, a linebacker will step in and blitz as well. But if those guys up front, can get pressure as we've seen, and again, they're all healthy, they're well rested. I think the Titans are going to be in pretty good shape in that regard. And another thing about Joe Burrow, in addition to suffering some sacks, a lot of sacks this year, he does throw interceptions as well. He's got incredible numbers. He's a great deep passer and so forth. But he will turn the ball over from time to time as well. And again, as we all know, if you can get that pressure on a quarterback, that increases, the chances of an interception. And I think the Titans are in great shape in terms of health. Especially on that defensive front, it seems like, from time to time, one of those guys has had a nagging injury, or one of the edge guys has had a nagging injury. Right now, not only the defense, but just about the whole team looks very healthy and ready to go.
So if I asked you to pick one side or the other in this question, we go King, we go Tannehill, we go A.J. Brown, we go Julio Jones, compared to T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Mixon, and Joe Burrow. Which four are you picking?
Well, if you're looking to score points in a hurry, and pile them up, I think I'd probably lean towards Cincinnati, just because that's kind of where their offense, points in terms of explosive plays and pushing the ball down the field. But I will say that makes it even more important for the Titans offense and the guys you mentioned to be able to control the clock in this game. The best way to keep Joe Burrow from not throwing 4 touchdown passes is by keeping him on the sideline. So if the Titans can get into that traditional Titan offense, and that's Derrick Henry, a good dose of that, probably the 2 other backs as well. And if you can mix in AJ and Julio, and I think the Titans finished the year, I believe, second in terms of time of possession in the NFL. If they can run up, 35 minutes of time of possession or more, I think that's a big reason to like their offense, even though it's not necessarily as explosive as Cincinnati's.
Well, we started the show off, asked you questions about insight into, Fulton and Chase Braxton. We're going to end with that, and that is the head coach Taylor has coached with Tannehill before in Miami. Does that give him a little more insight on things that bother Tannehill and things that he's good at and not good at, and that he goes and sits in his defensive staff room and kind of give him some little tea leaves to help them out?
I think that's probably fair to say. Yeah, I would think so. Now it's been a few years, since they've been together. But I would think that's probably accurate in that, he might have a little bit of an inkling into what might bother Ryan Tannehill. So it'll be up to the Titans to counter that. Much like, when Tom Brady played his first couple games against Mike Vrabel, you certainly got the idea that Mike Vrabel had an idea of what bothered Tom Brady and, moving him from the spot and so forth. And Tom Brady didn't necessarily look too good in his first 2 shots against Mike Vrabel. So I think there might be some similarities there, but again, it's one thing to know maybe what bothers a guy, and it's another thing for your team to be able to execute that. So that will be the key for both teams there on Saturday.
We're on with the legend, John Glennon, MSI.com.
Another good segue.
There you go. Hey, JG, thank you, man. Anybody, we're kind of all waiting for the text or the tweets to drop of this guy didn't practice. Is that out yet, the who was available and not today?
Yeah. It just came out, and the only guy I did not see out there was Jack Rabbit, which is a little bit of a surprise because he wasn't on the injury report yesterday. But as far as I could tell, and it was kind of hard to tell because it was raining and it was making a soggy mess of my roster as I tried to check off names. But he was the only guy that I didn't see. It looked like, a guy who was limited yesterday was Tart, and he was back out there again today. So, as far as health goes, got to like what you see in the Titans right now.
Amen. Always like what we hear from you. Thank you, JG. Appreciate the time.
Okay, appreciate it, guys.
Yes, sir. John Glennon at Glennon Sports. Follow him for all the latest. No Jackrabbit today. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, when we come back, what did Todd Downing say? We heard from Derrick Henry today. We also heard from the OC. What did he say about Derrick Henry's workload? We got that next. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. So here's the basic bottom line when it comes to my friends at Cedar Recovery. You've heard me talk about them for a long time here on the station. They have one goal. That's to solve the opioid epidemic and reduce overdose deaths in Middle Tennessee. That's it. They've got a model for medication-assisted treatment. It provides first-class treatment for those who are struggling with opioid addiction. They want to solve this problem in Middle Tennessee. Heck, they want to solve it everywhere. If you live in Middle Tennessee, you probably know somebody who's been affected by opioid abuse. Maybe it's you, somebody you care about, a parent, a child. Maybe you're somebody who's out there in the community now and you're trying to hide this. You feel like there's some kind of shame or stigma. Well, there's none of that at Cedar Recovery. There's only help in helping people get well. That's it. And it doesn't matter if you've got money or insurance, they can still see you. And it doesn't matter if you got fear of COVID, you don't want to go in, they'll see you over telehealth. And they've got 4 different locations to see you. So you're out of excuses. Get help today if this is you, or help somebody get help at Cedar Recovery. Visit cedarrecovery.com or call 615-800-5330. Begin your journey to feel better, get better, and stay better. Cedar Recovery, addiction treatment that works. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We didn't shoot anybody. Not the sheriff. Not even in self-defense.
Oh. Roberson was missing for practice. I just saw that list.
Oh, that was added, huh?
That was added by JG, who we just hung up from.
Oh, John Glennon added Derrick Roberson. So he and Jackrabbit, those were the guys who were missing today. We'll tweet that out. So missing one of your top corners, possibly, and Derrick Roberson, who's very much a depth guy at outside linebacker, but a depth guy who plays special teams.
Oh, just starting corner. Let's just put it. I mean, he's a starting corner.
Yep.
Uh-oh. I should have asked Glenn about the no one testing positive for COVID for the entire NFL playoff.
I'm going to knock on wood when you say that.
That was
COVID-free postseason.
Oh, my.
Hendrickson, the defensive end for the Bengals, was in the concussion protocol, and the Bengals reporters all tweeted pictures of him practicing yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
And several people responded because I retweeted it at one point. And they said, how can you practice? You can practice if you're in the concussion protocol.
Well, he was on a limited basis, so let's get that correct.
Yes,
too. I mean,
so he did like individual.
Right, yeah. He's trying to see if his body responds and see if his head is okay, and then you don't know maybe, till tomorrow.
Yep.
And so, which is today, and if he practices today, then they can say he can move forward. Every concussion is so different. You got to treat it as it's an individual deal here.
Yeah.
And if he feels fine, maybe he just got dinged. And that now, when I say that, that's what they were saying. We used to go back in the game.
Right.
Well, now they're not letting guys go back in the game as much as they were before. I say they still do, but it just depends.
Remember, people used to say, "Oh, it's a slight concussion."
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Well, I was a little woozy.
Right.
I knew exactly where I was at. What happened? I just got hit really hard. So, and whatever hit me didn't move, but I did, and my brain was swish-washing around. So now it's settled down. I think I'm good to go.
I got knocked out playing catcher in a baseball game one time. I got super confused. I lost my mask. I couldn't find it, and I started freaking out. And the umpire finally grabbed me and shook me, and that kind of brought me back. And they're like, "Okay, you're good." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." And I just kept playing.
Yeah, there's different levels. Yeah, no doubt about it. Because I could say, I've had small dings along the way, maybe a handful of them, but only one time I would really say that I got concussed. And
right.
That's got knocked out, and that's in the Super Bowl there in the third quarter. So that, because instantly I couldn't recall exactly how it happened.
Oh.
Yeah, so I got knocked out. I was like, I must have took a Tyson hit there by Cromwell there, that fullback. When I tried to hit him, and he ended up hitting me.
How many times is Derrick Henry going to get on Saturday? His offensive coordinator, Todd Downing, was asked about this today. What would his carry count look like? This was the explanation from his OC.
Yeah, I think we've talked a little bit throughout the course of this year just about load management and how it's tough to sometimes put a finite number on things. And I think that, if I'm given the green light with Derrick playing, then we just going to have to monitor him in the game. And, Coach Dews does a great job of keeping an eye on his guys and rotating those guys through anyway. So probably have a lot to do with the flow of the game.
So a lot to do with the flow of the game there. It's kind of what I would expect. I mean, that's what I expect him to say. A lot to do with the flow of the game. And a lot to do, I'm sure, with Tony Dews, which he mentioned, having, his running backs coach, him monitoring. How do you feel? How do you feel? How's the foot feel? You feel okay? Everything good? But I would expect we're still going to see Hilliard. I would expect we're still going to see the Foreman, the three-headed monster.
Yeah, I would definitely start with the King and then kind of progress through there and only let him tell me when he's ready to tap out. And then I'm going to put Foreman in depending on what down distance or what kind of play we're calling, because Foreman fits certain of those plays and here are the other ones. I would kind of let him dictate to me. And I'm not going to be asking him a lot. I'm going to let him, hey, you want to come out, just let us know.
Right.
Well, we're gonna roll, especially if he's feeling pretty good and he's rolling. Yeah, I think that's how you got to approach it. You can't be babying him along the way, because then that's not.
You tell us.
Yep.
But until then, you're going to go.
Yep. And I'm sure that's how he wants to be, too.
The King's ready to go. We're not ready to go, but we got to go because our time is up. Yeah, 3HL's coming up next on this rainy Wednesday.
Yeah, so be careful out there. Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
It's supposed to snow, you said, tonight.
Yes, of course. It's going to snow again tonight.
11 o'clock,
Lucas is shaking his head.
Well, he can't believe it.
So get home.
You won't get any sleep, Mickey.
I know. I'll be up
standing
watching
at the window.
I will be. I'm going to go home and have some hot chocolate. But in the meantime.
In between time,
This
Mickey.
is how we leave you. Peace.